Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's show is a brand new exclusive series written by a good friend of mine from way back, and I covered a couple of his stories already, Mr. S.Binx. Fantastic writer, guys, and a good friend of the show. As ever, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments. Please do like and share and help build this community and channel. And of course, don't forget to hashtag TeamFEAR. If you're looking to wrap up warm this Christmas, why not grab yourself a wonderful warm jumper from the merchandise store above. Or simply click the link in the description box below. Without further ado, let's get into a brand new series exclusive to the DMT Forest of Fear channel entitled The Buckthorn Valley Horror. Part 1. Let's get straight into that. The cold of the wooden stock, the weights of the barrel. Hinges scream as wooden doors are forced open, and the cold wind whipped and whistled through the black abyss of the old building. But the shadows were deceptive. The darkness hung a faint odour of pain, anger, and malice intent were tangible in the air. Realization struck like a knife in the back, splintering his spine. Something was there with him. Spurred by fright, he ran through the old squeaking door, back to the overgrown lumberyard. A terrifying roar from behind forced him to look. A blur of black mass leaping through the air. A natural reaction. He turned, trying to raise his 308. It felt like a stone block, slow and heavy. Eons had passed in his mind before the deafening bang rings his ears and impacted the stock against his shoulder. Blood sprays from the dark mass as it veers to the left, and only a flash in the corner of his eyes before it passed him. The impact of the crash sends debris in all directions, and blood seeps from a wound, one slash before it fell. In his mind, prayers that it is only a scratch. He approached the dark mass as blood trickles through the gravel. Now what remains of an ear lays in tatters. It was a headshot, yes, but not fatal. Come on, Ellis. You can do this. Run! Just bloody run! Ah, the gods! I can't even feel my feet. This place, that thing. Fuck! Run! Contort your body. Fire! Chamber the next! Fire again! Blank! Ah! This goddamn gun! Where is it? It's so fast. Oh, God save me. Run, you idiot. Just run again. I don't feel the bushes. Ignore the pain. You haven't got time. Turn. Aim. Fire. Again. Last round. It's not far to the house. Got to get to the house faster, you idiot. God, age just caught up with me. These legs feel old. But that thing is coming. Now, I have to fight both age and death. Great. God, Ellis, what was that? It's not a bear, that's for sure. No bear climbs like that, moves like that. It's close. I can't see it, but it's coming. The door! Come on, you old bastard. Be good for something and get that door open. But what after? Never leave again? No. Come on, just get it done. Across the river, up the stairs, the door, in. Ah! Twist, point, aim. At what? Nothing's there. It's gone? No. I can't believe it gave up. Gave up? Or it's out of its territory. Did it just give up? Yeah. Yeah, that's right, it gave up. Oh God, this scratch. It burns. Hot and weeping. Blood trickling, darker than normal, running down my arm. Damn! I can't stay. Even if it's gone. I have to go. I have to go too. I have to get to Trevor. I've got a story, said Scott as he passed around the bottle of spiced rum. His audience, his closest friends, waiting in anticipation as they gazed over the dancing flames. He leaned down, poking the embers with a crooked stick, watching smoke whisked into the endless dark of the night sky. Flames hissed and spat white sparks that sporadically jigged as they climbed. their glow mimicking that of the stars that were above. His lips parted once more. Have I ever told you about the Buckthorn Valley horror? Not for me, mate. Scott's hand waved away the dark liquor that Jacob was passing back to him. If I'm going to tell a good story, I'll need a level head. Sammy reached and eagerly received the spirit bottle. Yeah, what are you trying to do, Jacob? Getting pissed? I haven't heard this one, and it sounds like it's going to be messing me up. Jacob chuckled in response. Is that why you snatched that bottle so fast, huh? You trying to build up some courage? Sammy flipped the bird, and the rest of the group made a childish woo, and everyone began laughing heartily. Light-heartedly, Scott broke the laughter. All right, Scott continued. Leave Sammy alone. It's not his fault he's a chicken. He looked at his friend. Sammy had the air of a boy who never rose from his bed before 11 a.m. Anyway, I'm guessing that's a no then. All right, I'll tell you, and I'll start at the beginning. Scott's eyes took upon a darkness. His gaze penetrated the mind and heart like a Trojan horse, unleashing anticipation and unavoidable fear into his friends. It all started in the upper part of Washington state, near the border, probably not too far from where we are now. The year was 1976. The demand for timber was high, and people who had the land were selling it to the logging companies. All apart from Mr. Ellis J. Buckthorn, who figured he would hire a crew to begin logging his newly acquired 1,000 acres. It wasn't long till he had himself a crew of 30 or so men, and they began work. Now, after a few months, they had established a logging road through the estate and a mill to process the wood. The logging had been so successful that in just 3 years, 150 acres of the valley had been cut. With a prosperous future in mind, Ellis chose to put everything into a new family house that was built in the south end of the very same valley. It was beautiful. 3-story, 6 bedrooms. A log and stone construction, not 30 yards from a stone-bed river that ran down from the hills and passed in front of an expanse of grass meadow. After seeing his newly constructed home, Ellis had a change of heart and decided that the valley was too beautiful to cut down. Instead, he began to purchase land for his workers to log. 10 years had passed, but time after time, Ellis would be outbid for the land by larger, more wealthy companies, and eventually he was forced to reopen the Buckthorn lumberyard. 10 years, and the mill had not been touched. Something was bound to have called the abandoned building home. Ellis had a few men clear the yard, make sure nothing was in residence. Eventually, in 1988, the Buckthorn lumber mill was up and running again, and everything was like the old times, right up until the foreman called the landline early one morning, telling him the men who worked late were seeing dark shapes darting between the trees and refused to come back to work. So what was it the men were seeing? Jim questioned. A group of 4 men said they had seen what they said could only have been an emaciated black bear. They were questioned by the foreman and Ellis, who assumed they must have been lying, probably to get some kind of compensation. So he fired them the same day. Jess managed to calm everyone down to a more or less quiet state. Keep going. She motioned to Scott. I want to hear what happened. Believe me, you wish you didn't. Scott's own girlfriend squeezed up closer to him and held tightly to his hand. She was newer to the group and wasn't big on scary stories, but it was evident to all around that they loved each other dearly. I'll stop if you want, babe. He spoke softly and kissed her head. She looked up at him with pearlescent blue eyes that dazzled him into the light of the fire. No, it's okay. I'll just sit closer to you from now on. Nodding his head, he turned back to the gang. Scott resumed his tale. Ellis hired a hunter to deal with the problem animal. The hunter surveyed the area for 3 weeks and found nothing. He gave his findings to the foreman, who then sent the men back to work, telling them that the problem was over, but told the hunter to continue hunting. The hunter argued with him, but eventually conceded to the idea, on one condition. He told the foreman to reduce work in the area the animal was last seen, and he would go and hunt the bear. It took the animal 2 weeks to show itself, I've heard he blew its brains out through its arse. Jim gestured the necessary hand actions to emphasise his comment. Not quite, replied Scott. Courtney's soft voice that was so close to his shoulder let slip a few trembling words. So the bear got away? He shook his head. No, babe. He got the bear. But not before 3 men had been killed. Jess gasped. Oh, damn! How did they die? Sev snorted. Ha 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 ha! How do you think, dummy? The bear mauled them. That's what bears do. Well, mates, that's the thing. This bear was said to be skinny. Some of the other workers were later questioned, but he broke off once more and took a swig of bud. No one knows what they said. Was it covered up or something? Scott looked at Jacob. There is that, as well as if the bear was capable of killing these men at all. Obviously it could. Sammy took a swig of his own beer and also made a gesture with his hands. It was a bear. Scott smirked. He couldn't contain his giggle at his drunk friend. He leaned in and pulled a more controlled expression. Tell me, Sam, could an emaciated male bear, one that should be 300 or 400 pounds, but was reportedly less than 200, could an animal like that commit such an atrocity? The official report was 3 men dead after a bear attack, but the unofficial story said the legs of the man, who was 15 feet off the ground, were ripped off at the waist. Another was so badly mangled that he was unrecognisable as a human being. Sammy pondered as he rocked back and forth, his face beginning to start losing colour as he was blatantly picturing the event in his own mind. He slumped down and begged the question. What about the third? Well, that's what made all the workers leave. The third man was found impaled 30 feet up a tree. His head was never recovered. So that's why it's called Buckthorn Valley Horror. No, Jacob, it's not. That was just the beginning. The reason it got that name is what happened 8 years ago. Unexpectedly, Ellis shows up at his brother's house in Bellevue. He developed a fever, and not more than a few days later, he died in hospital. It was so unexpected. He became too ill before he could have anything done with Buckthorn Manor. So his brother inherited the land and house and made it a holiday home. Didn't Ellis tell his brother? Retorted Jess. If I knew there was a monster in my woods, I'd tell the first person I could. Well, no one knows, because when Trevor Buckthorn was questioned about his brother, he said Ellis was disorientated, borderline hallucinogenic. The guy had an infection. He must have been so out of it that he couldn't say anything. 11 years passed since, and his son, who was 19, took the opportunity to take a group of friends and enjoy the summer break there. Jim picked up. Yeah, I heard about that from my dad. He was a sheriff's deputy, and he heard about it from a deputy who was sent to investigate. Everyone went missing. Nothing was found, just blood and carnage. Dude, are you going to let me tell this story? As I was saying, it was 2009 in North Washington State. Wow, I know that's a bit of a cliffhanger ending there for you guys, but fantastically written, great format, great humour, and a very good tension building up in that storyline. Thank you ever so much, S.Binx, for working with me once again and letting me have this exclusive story. Fantastic stuff. As ever, guys and girls, please do let us know down below in the comments what you thought. Please do like and share and help build this community and channel. Already the community and channel is growing and growing so fast each day by sort of 15 or 25 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible, guys. So humbled, so very proud. I realise I haven't been, putting out longer stories and not as many uploads. To be honest with you guys, it's my own health and stress and depression's got me, beats me back sometimes, plus some training, getting back to work soon after my back's all fixed up. But I promise you, we're going nowhere, and as soon as I can, I record. Got an absolutely action-packed and blood-curdling true story compilation that I'm putting together speaking with various witnesses at the moment for the past couple of weeks. We're going to save that all up and have a nice compilation to bring out for Christmas as a Christmas special. As ever, guys, above all, please do remember, be safe, not sorry. And now for part 2 of the Buckthorn Valley horror. Let's get straight into that. Walking along a frosty back road, hitchhiking alone was the best thing that Anderson could think to do. He had been travelling east to west from Carolina to Washington. Just another tick on the bucket list, he said to himself. He was moving briskly. The March wind was picking up and it made a cold air like a synth. It made short work of his clothing. Ugh, it's cold. He looked at the sky and it's getting dark. I don't think I'm going to see anyone for a while. Perhaps it's time to find a spot to rest. It's cold. He kept going, quickened his pace as his urge to get warm was fueling his tired legs. Something was on the road in front. Something dead. He proceeded with caution, pulling bear spray from his pocket for protection. It came up to the body. He'd been on the road for a long time, and had seen quite a few roadkill. This didn't seem different. Only it did. This deer, it wasn't killed by a car, and the blood was still warm. It was steaming. This animal was hunted, and had been partly eaten. He froze to the spot. All his senses went into overdrive. Something had stepped out behind him. Something big. Several months later. Riley leaned forward. His clammy hands were clasping his stomach, which was making a horrendous gurgling noise. Hey, Jason. Easy down this dirt-ass back road. My gut's killing me. This isn't a back road. It's the old loggers' road. Jason checked his rearview mirror. We lost the girls. I told Megan that her little VW would hate these old roads. A spark pinged in Mac's brain. He reached for his pocket. I'll give Sam a call. Tell her where to pull off. Jason could help but smirk at his best mate and his city life ignorance. Don't waste your time, bro. They don't have a signal. If it's not a landline, it isn't getting a signal. Riley, clearly agitated by his stomach, began to shift around reluctantly in his seat. Oh, I feel like I'm going to shit my pants. Bro, I told you not to eat that dirt-ass Mexican street food. We've got something normal, but you had to go and eat some shit from a street stand. I love you, little bro, but you deserve the shits. If anything, for just being so stupid. One look at that taco. I wouldn't have even given it to Champ. Ain't that right, Champ? The Belgian shepherd in the back seat gave a bark of recognition, as if to say, yeah, that's right, shitty tacos. Wow, if we're taking everyone on a hike this week, you're going to feel like crap. Yeah, I know, man. But Kaylee is coming. It's my chance to lay on some game. An uproar of laughter came from the passenger seat of the Range Rover. Mate, the only thing you'll be lying in is a stink in every toilet in the house. Perhaps the smell will work in your favour. She might feel so ill, you might get a chance when she's throwing up. Jason suddenly swerved and instantly caught the attention of everyone. Max shot back in his seat. Fuck! What was that? Jason huffed. It was just a deer. Something's probably spooked it. Different from the Starbucks and football fields, eh, man? Man, I just hope its trip is going to be what you said it would be. I don't want to get eaten by no damn deer. That shit's bad for my football career. Jason's focus turned to his friend and feigned a serious expression. It's not the deer you need to worry about. What you need to watch out for is the pine marten. What? Max spoke, his head dashing around as he looked scrutinizingly at the forest edge. Ah, hell no. I don't like the sound of that. What is it, bro? I swear, I ain't going in the woods if there's a pine marten in there. Riley laughed so hard, he nearly laid a stink right there in the back of the Range Rover. Mac looked back at the blonde-haired 17-year-old. What's so funny? Hey, how big is a pine marten anyways? With the few minutes between holding his stomach that was churning faster with every belch of laughter. Dude, is it like this big?
Riley roughly sized out the infamous creature. Shit, that's tiny. Man, stop taking the piss. Riley blabbed out something along the lines of, like squirrel mixed with a fox. Shit, Jason. Don't do that to me, man. I don't like the woods as it is. And then you'll try some bull about some pine marten? The pine marten is the last of our concerns. You mean Dad? Commented Riley. You told him we were going to the twins' lake house. He's going to be so pissed when he realises you swiped the keys to Uncle Ellis's place. Jason stared down the old dirt road. Do you remember when we used to come here as children? Mum and Dad would bring us up here almost every month. We would hike, stick burgers on the grill. He even taught us how to hunt in those very woods. And then one day, 5 years ago, he ups and decides we're never going back. No explanation. Just cut it out of our lives. He had reasons. Did he though? Did he really? Because he forgot to tell them to us. Anyway, we're old enough to make our own choices. It's time to grab life, little brother. Enjoy this week. It's probably the last chance we'll ever have. The evening sun was slowly beginning to fade as the silver 4x4 scouted the outline of the circular drive at the front of the old family home. The three boys and dog briskly exited the car. Jason was only beat to the door by enthusiastic bawls of Riley. Come on, bro, pass me the key. I'm going to shit myself. Jason chuckled as he walked towards the dusty stone steps. And themselves were only a few years old. No one had been about apart from his father, while he would check in twice a year. He threw his sibling the key and watched in pure amusement as the 17-year-old fumbled with the door lock before diving in and racing out of sight. Jason was alerted by Champ, who began to bark at a light blue VW Beetle. Or what was a light blue, but was more of a dirt-covered Beetle, with only a few flecks of blue still showing. At this point, it definitely earned its name, the Bug. The Bug pulled in off the overgrown dirt road and parked up behind the dusty but far more recognisable 4x4. A slim brunette, no taller than 5'11", stepped out of the driver's side door. Her companion, a mixed-race girl, stepped out from the passenger side. She was shorter than her friend, but she was curvy and styled an afro. The tall brunette turned around and released the driver's door, and a third passenger emerged from the back of the V-Dub. She was blonde and a similar build to the first, but a good few inches shorter. Unlike the other two, who were unmistakably 18 or 19, she was clearly a year or even two younger. A warm smile climbed Jason's cheeks as his eyes connected with the tall brunette. Hey babe, how did you find the drive? I thought we'd lost you on that last bit. He walked back down the leaf-covered steps of the front porch and gave Megan a warm and embracing hug, shortly followed by a kiss. Yeah, we nearly got lost. You told me the roads were bad, but look at the Bug. Yeah, but it will be worth it, he said as he smiled down at her. Well, at least we're all here, she said as she turned to look at the others who were busy unloading the two cars. Well, almost all of us. His slow reply gave Megan cause for concern. The twins. You know they won't show. They either outright bail or get too stoned and can't remember. See, that's where you're wrong, because Blake already called when we were at the gas station. He said him and Brogan were packing and they would leave in the evening. They'll get here by 11 tomorrow night. If you say so. Just don't cry when they bail. He snuggled and unleashed a volley of tickles. She screamed and then cuddled him closer. She pulled back from his body and looked past and over his shoulder. Wow, Jason, this place is beautiful. Well, let's get everything inside. Jason wholeheartedly agreed with her. His head rose and a smirk creeped over his devilish face. I think the workforce is distracted. Megan swiveled her head. She giggled as she indicated the boot of the Range Rover. A tall, mixed-race Mac was kissing the afro-sporting Sammy, all while Kaylee was struggling with a densely packed hiking bag. Wait! A blur of blonde streaked from the doorway and immediately aided the petite blonde with a load. Simultaneously striking up a conversation about hiking experiences, Megan turned back to meet Jason's cheesy grin, and with both hands planted on his chest, she giggled once more. It didn't take the crew long to get everything set up. Their temporary sanctuary was as spacious and warm as Jason had remembered. The front door opened to a short but wide hallway. A coat closet was the first door, and the downstairs bathroom the next. The hallway gave out to a huge expanse of open space. On the near side wall, a large stone fireplace took centre stage and was decorated with an old lever action and an impressive buckhead. 2 armchairs, a large curving couch and another, slightly smaller, were arched to face what must have been an expensive flat-screen TV that hung from the wall. An old pine slab coffee table set within an arch, no doubt to provide a safe place for placing a beer or even 10. Stairs ran from the left of the hallway and ended and led to the landing that gave a plan view of the entire living space. The remaining left side of the ground floor was taken entirely by a kitchen complete with an island, with the exception of the modest laundry room that was set a few feet below the floor level. The first floor landing narrowed to a corridor that gave access to the 4 bedrooms, eventually ending in a balcony that was large enough for 5 to stand comfortably. Jason could remember standing there as a kid and watching the surrounding wildlife before his bedtime. He looked back on his childhood here and the rules that were put in place. He remembered being told he couldn't do this or that. Now this time, he was the man of the house. He made the rules. He also knew that being the man of the house had afforded him and Megan the master suite. The second floor bedroom took the entire floor and consisted of a large open space that was main occupancy for a log-framed king-size bed, along with a rocking chair and a suitable sized bathroom. Naturally, the top floor had a balcony that allowed one to view over both the river and the grass meadow that lay beyond its banks, all the way up to the forest edge, some 200 yards back. The first floor was occupied by Sammy and Mac in a room that gave a view to the front property. Riley and Kaylee occupying the next 2 rooms, leaving the last room to be occupied by the twins when they arrived. All was settled in, and due to the effects of the several hours of drinking, the group splayed themselves across the various chairs and sofas that surrounded the pine coffee table. The group never seemed closer, chorusing and entangling themselves in tales and reminiscing memories. Ha ha ha, man, that was one hell of a night. The campus security guy had no clue. He was a creep, that's for sure, stated Megan. He always looked funny at us, like he wanted to rip off our clothes or something. Mac chuckled again, this time even louder than before. That's because he did. He got fired for peeping at the girls in the changing room. Jason's eyes passed over the old cuckoo clock that took stake upon the fireplace. The dark varnished wood didn't match the pine mantle, but it was a gift bestowed by relations in Great Britain, and Jason was almost fond of it, if the broken spring didn't make it so damn loud whenever it struck midnight. Currently, it read 10:45 p.m. That's enough of that conversation, spared Sammy. I want to change the subject. Jason, tell us about this place. Did your dad build it? Not our dad, interjected Riley. Our uncle did. Jason took a swig and continued the reply from his younger brother. That's true. Our uncle owned this entire valley. He built this house in the late 80s. I'm not surprised. It's so beautiful here, retorted Sammy. Her eyes still explored the immense house like a puppy exploring the woods for the first time. I'd have done the same in his shoes. Jason grinned wildly. Oh, I don't think you would have. As he spoke, he took his drink and reclined into his seat. He crossed his feet and rested them upon the corner of the pine table, in the way of an old grandfather would. No one in the house would challenge his actions. You wouldn't. Not if you knew the reason my dearly departed uncle lost his business. Everyone slowed. Confusion spread like fire between them, apart from Jason, who has an imperceptible smug grin. What do you mean, dude? Stop trying to spook me again. Mac took a swig of his beer and mid-sentence. That Martin shit wasn't funny. Sammy looked at him for a moment with brief confusion, but he simply waved her off with a dismissive gesture. Jason winked at his younger brother. Should we tell, then, the story of old Uncle Ellis? Riley's grin widened. His hands reached down to stroke the ears of Champ, who was enjoying the warmth of the fire. He looked up and his devilish grin widened. Megan looked over and then back to Jason. Uncertainty was written all across her face. What do you mean? Jason's smile grew. I mean, babe, something happened here in 1993. A long while back. Our uncle inherits this land from our grandfather. Hell, no one even knew he had it. But since Ellis was the oldest, it went to him. So our uncle, being the level-headed man he was, decides to make an investment and hires a crew so he can begin his own logging company. I mean, what else do you do with an entire valley? Now, about a year in, Riley broke him off. He realises he's been a dick and he's destroying our family's wealth, and instead of wasting the entire valley, he uses his new financial gains to build this place. He then had to make a living, so he invested the last of his funds into buying forest area. Idaho, Lower State Washington, Alaska, all the areas that were prime for logging. The problem was, Ellis was a small fish in a big pond. He started off well, but within 6 years his competitors had grown bigger, and even though he'd win a few bids, they were all on small, hard-to-reach plots. He would lose the prime areas, and the losses became more than he could afford. Riley continued. 10 years later, he eventually had no choice but to resume logging this valley, and the mill is almost as he left it. Almost? Questioned Kaylee. Something was living in the old mill. Ellis sent in a few men to have the place checked over. They found bones from various animals, deer, shit like that. So they cleared it up and began work. But something happened. What happened? Riley closed in on the group. The men said they kept seeing something. His crew began to drop. 4 men were killed, and then they all left. Mac was now visibly nervous. He even began to drink his beer in small sips. So, what did your uncle do about it? He went back to Idaho. He knew it wouldn't be hard to find a crew. Yeah, he had a problem with convincing them to work for him. Lumber crews gossip like college girls, and stories about what happened at Buckthorn lumber site spread through every bar and club before Ellis even had a chance. Then, 4 years later, Dad and Mum get a call from the hospital, suffering an infection. They go to see him, but 2 days after arriving, he died in hospital. Well, that's so sad. Kaylee put her hand on Riley's arm. I'm sorry to hear that. The boy blushed for a moment, but kept his composure. Yeah, I'm over it now. Thank you. At that moment, Riley's stomach made a disgusting, violent gurgling sound that sent him dashing to the toilet. Sammy looked imperceptibly at Meg and gave her a flash of a wink. Kaylee, why don't you go see if he's okay? He'd probably be grateful. Kaylee's sad smile lit up with enthusiasm. I'm gonna go check on him. She jumped up, took a bottle of water and quickly tattled up the stairs. Jason blew Meg a kiss. Right, now, the kids are out of the way. Let me tell you the real story. What Riley said was true, but there's a lot of parents didn't tell us. The only reason I know the truth is because I overheard them discussing it the night my uncle met Jesus. Everyone sunk down in their seats, just a little bit further. Jason began his side of the towel. An hour had passed like a fleeting moment. People's drinks were flat, warm. They haven't even touched them. Jason was a natural. He told a story like Da Vinci could paint, and the events of Buckthorn were his masterpiece, his Mona Lisa. All that was left were 3 mangled corpses, and blood was everywhere. The room was silent. The type of silence that, if tumbleweed were to blow through the room, not a single head would turn. Sammy, who looked like she regretted even having a thought to ask Jason about his family's home, lifted her now sunken head. She muttered in an ever so slightly shaken voice. What was the story, the one the men told? What was the rumour? It was a monster residing in the valley. It killed all who dared to harm the balance of the ecosystem, and that when the men started logging, it awoke and came for them from the depths of the old cave. The old clock struck midnight. Its cuckoo chime made everyone's head dart in shock. All except from Jason and Riley, who anticipated the noise and retaliated with childish chuckles. Champ lifted his long-haired head. Brown eyes looked weary, as if he felt an immense sorrow. He gave one solemn bark. The day was already passing on by the time they awoke. Headaches and dry mouths were cured with a fried breakfast and a good ground coffee. Compliments of Sammy, whom had started work that summer as a barrister. They spent the free time exploring their new abode. The deck out back was spacious, and although built in the 80s, it had been renovated and was now adorned with a hot tub that provided the day's main entertainment, along with speakers blasting all throughout the day. Jason, Mac and Riley were busy playing with Champ. Kaylee, tired of girly gossip, sat on the last step before the grass, watching the guys while simultaneously reading a novel. Megan and Sammy, never bored of girlish gossip, sat in the hot tub, their heads nodding. Waves of laughter washed over them both. It was abundantly clear they were gossiping. Gossiping and planning like schoolgirls, they started, pulled in close, chuckled and simultaneously hushed one another, as if the rest of them didn't already know the plots they were twisting. True freedom was the atmosphere of the day. But, as the old saying goes, before they knew it, it was turning dusk. Night came. Jason sat and stared at the fireplace. The hands of the cuckoo clock bore the time, 10:55. He thought. Blake and Brogan said they would be here by 11 at least. The fuck are those two dropouts? Hey, Jay. He tore from his thoughts and glanced towards the sound of the noise, towards Megan. Didn't you say the twins would be here? Mac huffed in disappointment. A sound, it seemed, came naturally whenever he heard those words. Them two. Don't ever expect them on time. They get so high they forget their speeding and they're probably sitting in County Jail. That's true, chimed Sammy. They won't get charged, considering their cousin is a deputy, but they will keep them overnight so they can sleep off the dope. But we can't know for sure, since we can't call them. Jason relaxed back into the sofa, crossing his arms over his head in the process, like a jester whom had a cool trick in mind. He sat and hopelessly contained a smug expression. You guys are probably right. Megan was suspicious of her boyfriend's laid-back approach. What if they got stuck or lost? Jason, unwilling to change position again, had an arrogant but smuggish grin. Look, he said, as he relinquished all resistance to his smug grin. If they don't show, I'll just give Blake a call in the morning. Wait, Max sat up and was visibly confused. I thought you said there weren't any signal out here. How are you going to call a guy if you don't have any signal? Jason winked, finally changing position. He upped the crux. There's a radio in my backpack, and I have the frequency for the two-way that they have in their truck. I'll just radio in and check on them. The night was passing by with the aid of a crisp breeze. Jason stood in his trunks, watching the treetops shimmer with the light of the summer moon. He was alone. Megan had fallen asleep the second she hit the pillow. He gazed out. From this elevation, he could see the parting of the trees where the forest gave way to the dirt road. A pair of dim lights sloped their way down, almost too far for him to see, but he knew someone was coming. His grin widened, ever so slightly. The 1980 Ford Bronco cruised through the darkness. Both twins were singing along to Sum 41, In Too Deep. Brogan hit the volume down to an acceptable level and popped the question that had been held in for the past mile. Yo, bro, how far down this road we got left? Jason said we would pass an old mill. We have a few miles left and we just have to follow it down. Sweet, bro. Then we got time to burn this. Brogan removed a long, pristinely rolled joint from his jacket pockets and presented the masterpiece to his brother. Sweet, bro. Light it up. He then pressed the butt end between his lips. With a click and a flash from his lighter, the joint smouldered and bloomed bright. Oh, bro, take a toke. Here. Blake reached across to take the blunt. Whoa, man. Oh, that's some good stuff. The two passed the joint back and forth until there was nothing but a small bud left. Oh, man, I'm flying high. Brogan squinted his puffy eyes, and something dashed from the bushes and suddenly lunged at the driver's wheel. Whoa, look out! A deer froze in the headlights of the oncoming twins. The twins reacted, but the heavy weed had made them slow and uncoordinated. Oh, shit! Squealing tyres were followed by dirt flying from behind the wheels as they spun uncontrollably. The car swerved and then nosedived head first into the ditch, colliding into a seasoned fir tree. The hood was arched and smoke was desperately escaping the wreck. What? What the fuck, bro? Bro? Brogan looked over at the driver and was met with the grimmest view. One of the lower branches had pinned Blake through his sternum. His head was lurched forward and blood oozed from his gaping mouth. Brogan tore away from the seat and attempted to stop his brother's wound from seeping, although the driver's seat was already saturated. Blake's jaw twitched as he took a raspy gasp that gurgled with fluid. His agonizing face was able to flicker with life and his head lifted ever so slightly, his eyes fixed on Brogan. Oh no, please, bro, please, oh fuck, no, what, no, bro, come on now, no. A howl of immense proportions suddenly filled the night air. It was now laden with a putrefying stench. Brogan froze. His eyes were scanning the darkness. Blood was dripping from his brow. He hadn't escaped the crash unscathed. He pulled his jumper up to clear his vision. A stench, followed by a deep, vibrating growl, triggered something deep within Brogan. He fell into a fight or flight, and in desperate frenzy, he fought with a branch, trying to free his twin. Blake groaned in semi-conscious pain. His eyes imperceptibly tweaked. What facial control he had left formed itself into complete, unadulterated terror. At that point, Brogan caught on. It wasn't him that his dying brother was staring at. It was something behind him. A vibration passed through the truck as a scraping sound sheared paint from the bonnet. 5 dark, curved bear-like claws ran up the metal. Blake was in a state of petrification as the grotesque hand stopped. Everything was silent, only the rasping pants from Brogan as he slowly let go. A few moments passed. Brogan looked intensely about for whatever was stalking. From the darkness, the gargantuan head swung down and peered into the shattered window. Its snout was long, disfigured, twisted, and grotesque. Thick, yellow fangs parted the lips. The dark, wiry fur was parted by faded scars that ran down the length of the nose and across its cheek. It leaned in further. One of the ears on the top of its head was long, the other was missing. Brogan could make out clumps of skin that had once been, but was instead a healed over wound. The head twisted and facing down the remaining twin, its maw churned into a sadistic, canid grin. But its eyes, the yellow, amber glow, felt to Blake that his very soul was at stake. He could hear its breath, feel the warm stench consume his senses, and fill him with a knowing of complete hopelessness. Suddenly, the beast clamped its clawed hand around the top of the broken door, and with one swift motion, the creature retracted itself from the opening and tore the door from the Bronco. Brogan began to scream as he made a dive at the back seats, and the beast was swift. It dexterously grabbed a hold of the teenage boy, claws slicing into his calf and wrenching him from the vehicle. Demonic howls of agony and terror dominated the forest. Glowing, amber eyes slowly faded. The sound of the thrashing body being dragged disappeared into the moonlit night. It was eventually drowned by the chorus of nightly creatures. Wow. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic story by Mr. S.Binx. Once again, please do let us know down below in the comments what you thought. As ever, please do like and share and help build this community and channel. Don't forget, guys and girls, we have a merchandise store up and running. Just check the link in the description box below or click the link on the screen above at the information symbol. Still a little bit under the weather, as you might be able to tell with the second part of this story, but tomorrow we'll be recording quite a lot and bringing out lots over the next few days. I hope you're all well and happy. As ever, remember, if you're out and about in a deep dark forest, hunting or hiking or just simply camping, keep your wits about you, eyes and ears open, and above all, remember, be safe, not sorry.